Well, believe it or not, coming up in just a few days is the start of the Sawdust Festival. It starts June 28th and runs through September 1st. And as we like to do as we get into this summer season, is bring on an artist every week from the Sawdust. And today we have David Solomon. Welcome.
Nice to be here.
Nice to have you here. And you do, among other things, you do some architectural renderings. You work in mixed media. I found your stuff fascinating. We were talking during that segment, and it's a very neat stuff that you do here, because I used to do a little bit of that stuff, nowhere near like you do it. But tell us a little bit about your process, the type of mixed media you use, and the type of artwork that you do.
Well, I usually do traditional paintings, which are plein air mostly.
Okay.
I go into the desert and paint, or up the coast, and then some of them are mystical or visionary paintings.
Mm-hmm. Would this be?
That would be a visionary painting.
Okay.
And this is the head pilot for American Airlines. He recently retired, and I was consigned to do a portrait of him in a way where it expressed what he did in his life. And those are all the airplanes that he flew. And so now it's in the American. The original is at the American Airlines Hall of Fame in Texas.
Really? Wow. So you do both, you do commission work, but obviously you're at the Sawdust Festival, meaning you do non-commission work as well.
Commissions come up at the festival too.
Okay.
People, they see something, but can you do something that they would like?
Okay, but you have things for sale there that you've done throughout
and also
the year.
Prints are for sale too.
Okay. Here is something else that looks rather mystical, and I'm looking at what you used here. Was this a watercolor, gouache, or markers?
That's illustration board.
Okay.
And it's watercolor, transparent, and also opaque watercolor, where I use white ink and I mix it with the paint, with the watercolor.
Okay.
And that way I can color more on top of other colors, or layer the colors. Mm-hmm. And watercolor boards, certain types of board are very good, but some of them are very, the paper is no good at all. It just peel right off.
Right.
But you always have to buy the best, or sometimes thicker, if you want to be able to paint over and over and over on the same scene, and because you can lift it off and put it back on. And so,
yeah, exactly. And as I said, I used to work with some of this stuff, not to this level, but I know exactly what you mean. And I also know that what makes watercolor, at least traditional watercolor, for me, I found kind of difficult, is that you work opposite of if you're using oil paints, and that the white space, you have to start with the white space first. Yes, you can go over it with gouache or something as far as the white go, but unlike oil paints or even acrylic, where you usually start with the darker colors first and then put in those highlights at the end, you have to almost think in reverse,
totally
don't you?
Opposite. Especially when I select a subject, like that painting of the creek down there. I specifically look for the white that I can use in the painting, like dried logs, clouds, rocks, that kind of thing.
Let me pick out a couple things here, and this shows you a couple, different styles that David does here, and really nice. It's mainly watercolors you use?
Mostly watercolor. Mostly.
Okay.
Most of them are 99% watercolor, or 100% watercolor, but I do use opaque colors.
All right.
And this one, Frank K, is all water. It's all water paper, and it was about 30 degrees, 35 degrees. It was really cold up in Mendocino. This guy's in there fixing his boat, and he had a flask of whiskey in his back pocket. He looked at me, and I was drawing, and he said, "Hey," he throws me the bottle.
Well, that was nice of him.
So it kept me warm for the evening. And
you were saying, we were talking before we got on here, you've done a lot of architectural renderings. In fact, we talked about a company that we both knew of called Zabo that most people would not know of, but if you especially remember back in the 1980s and in the 90s when you'd go to you'd see a new housing tract or whatever, you get those beautiful brochures, and you would look at these different renderings for the homes. This is before they use computers. Those beautiful renderings, some might have been done by you. Oh, I really like this one here. Look at this here. But you did a lot of that work, didn't you?
Yes, I also did a lot of logos. When you drive into Laguna Beach, I designed the logo for Laguna
Oh, really?
in 1971. And the city was broke. Timothy Leary was still living there. And it was like Haight-Ashbury.
Yeah.
They're selling, acid right there on Hotel Laguna. And so they need a new logo, and they asked me to do it. And they said, how much was it going to cost? And I said, well, whatever it costs me, because the Chamber of Commerce was broke. So it only cost me $7 to do the what do they call that? The black and white.
Okay, yeah.
And they liked it, and it's still there now.
That's amazing. So you are a true, I don't know the exact term, but I would say like a Lagunanite, someone who's been there for many, many years doing a lot of stuff.
Well, I was born in East LA.
Okay.
And the art I saw was, billboards in those days, they were painted by hand in oil. These big glasses of beer,
Oh,
the
yeah,
bubbles going
sure.
up and the ice.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I learned how to make a sense of it when it's so big, and I could stand there and watch these guys paint. And that was my first art school, more or less.
I'm showing this one here because I would like to just dive into this scene.
And that's
a
La
little
Fonda
bit.
in Mexico.
Is it really? Wow. It looks so inviting. Now, when you sell these, you were saying that down there at the Sawdust, you have originals, but you also have prints of these in various sizes, I would
mostly
imagine.
prints and several originals.
Okay.
And
And I want to mention, before I forget, your website, davidsolomonartist.com. I went on it the other day and was looking at quite a few things on there. That looks almost like something you would see produced by Disney back in the 1950s.
yeah, I've always liked science fiction pictures, movies from the 50s. There's my era.
Yeah, very nice.
And they all look like that, those rockets with the big little wings. And
So over the years, you've worked in all these different kinds of traditional media, watercolors primarily. Have you yet gotten in, have you used computer programs as well? Do you do any of that,
no.
or is that something that's just you like to keep
just
traditional?
minimal. I can enhance things on the computer.
Right.
A little darker, a little lighter, a little warmer or cooler. That's about it.
Yeah.
But you can do a lot. I know you can, but I don't want to go through that process. It can mess me up.
You know what I've noticed over the years? I want to show this one. I really like this one. I don't want to fold your book back, but I think this one. Oh, I'm sorry about
That's
that.
all right. That's just float her in there.
Here, let me do this. Let me take that out if you don't mind here. But what I've noticed, you talked about that. I used to do all that traditional stuff. I had my art board and go to the art supply store. And for me, and I'm sure you have found this, it's more personal when you are taking a marker, watercolor, pencil, putting it to paper, and quite often you can get your thoughts out quicker than you can on a computer, because you can sketch something out really quick. And I'm sure you do this, where you might have a sketchbook, you sketch something out, put a few colors in just to give a rough idea. That's actually much harder on a computer, to do something rough.
Oh yeah, the rounds and the
Yeah, you've got to, I think it takes a lot longer.
yeah, and that's the only thing that hasn't changed, is that you can very quickly come up with something in minutes.
Yeah.
And I was in the World Series of Poker a number of years ago.
Oh, sure.
And I sketched all these gamblers gambling. And
Oh, wow, look at this. You're almost like a courtroom artist.
yes,
Yeah.
the big court.
Yeah. With the
And so they let me sit there. This is the second World Series of Poker.
Wow.
So that was 1978, I think.
Yeah.
And so they let me sit right there at the table. Well, they didn't even look at me. In fact, they even never changed their expression.
They wouldn't let you do that now with a digital camera, I don't think.
No.
Well, you were at booth 306 down there at the Sawdust. Again, it starts the 28th, just a few days from now. The prices are on the screen there, and you can see it's very reasonable. Seniors only $6.25 to get in. You can $15 for a season pass, $20 for annual, which includes the winter one. But also what you might want to take into account that the festivals get together here, and for $21.50 you can get into the Sawdust, the Art Affair, and also the Festival of the Arts, which is the front portion of the Pageant of the Masters. Pageant costs more for their performances, but that ticket also gives you discounts to many different galleries, all kinds of things. You can find any of these tickets at the Sawdust Festival. They sell both these variations here, and great work. It's been a pleasure having you on today. All right, very good. And did you want another?
No, my daughter's going to be here next Monday, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, great. All right, that'll be a lot of fun. So we'll look forward to that. Very good.
All right.
Thank you very much. Just sit there for a minute. Just want to tell you folks, we're just about out of time.